Lesson 12, which statistic should I use? This is one of those lessons that is part of this course, obviously, but is usually part of my research methods course as well. And if you are a psych major or you are in the sciences, this is kind of one of those lessons that you may have to go back to again and again as you conduct research. There are 3 logical steps to figuring out which statistic to use. And again, I'm going over the 5 most common types of statistics. There are hosts of different, more complex statistics that we're not covering here. But there are 3 logical steps. That is assuming that you know the difference between the independent and dependent variable. So if you're still wrestling with that, you might want to step 0 here, logical step 0. What is the independent and what is the dependent variable of your study? But if you can establish IV and DV, the first logical step is quite simple. What type of dependent variable are you using? And this goes right to the stuff we learned in lesson 1. Is it a nominal variable? Is it ordinal? Or is it interval or ratio? We can lump them together for here. And of course, the big difference between these groups, interval and ratio, you can calculate a mean of. So if you can calculate a mean of your dependent variable data, you're going to stick right here and go to logical step 2. But if your dependent variable is nominal, you're done. It's a chi-square. Go to lesson 13 to understand how to do that. If your dependent variable is ordinal, well, I used to lecture on ordinal statistics, but they really are kind of rare, and so I stopped doing it. So rather than go over all the different type of ordinal statistics, we're just going to leave it as an ordinal statistic. So if you determine that the dependent variable is categorical, but it has ranking, and so is ordinal, we're going to go with an ordinal stat. So if it's interval or ratio, we have to go to logical step 2. And logical step 2 is how many factors are there. Now you have to remember that factors are independent variables. Students always get these confused with levels. Factors are independent variables. Is there just one independent variable? If there is just one, we got to go to logical step 3. If there's 2 or more, you are done. It's a 2-way ANOVA. Actually, if it's 2, it's a 2-way ANOVA. If there are 3, it's a 3-way ANOVA, and so on. Okay, as I suggested earlier, I think 2 factors is probably the maximum you should do for a good scientific experiment. So 2 or more, 2-way ANOVA, you are done. But if it's only 1 factor, you got to go to logical step 3, and that is how many levels are there. Remember, levels are the number of conditions. If there are just 2 levels, it's a t-test. If there are 3 or more levels, you go on to 1-way ANOVA. It's that simple.